My name is Adam Cannon. I'm an e-learning evangelist here at eLearning Brothers. I'm specialize in instructional design, Captivate, Storyline, all things kind of instructional design, LMS, e-learning tools. And I appreciate you being here with us today. We're going to go ahead and get going. We've got Zach on the line. He is going to be monitoring for questions, so feel free at any time to pop into the questions panel with questions and you know, any comments you've got, and Zach will interrupt me from time to time and jump in with those. So we'll go ahead and get started. This webinar is about thinking outside the box with eLearning Brothers templates, and real briefly, what that means is we're going to look at. I've done a lot of consulting and helping support and things over the last year or so, and a lot of the questions I've gotten are, I want to create this kind of project, but you don't have a template for that. You know, maybe it's, I want to create a project about restaurants, and you don't have a template for that, and so can you create a template for it, or you know, I don't know if I want to use your templates if you don't have a template for my needs. And my point to them is always try not to look at the template as the look and feel of it, but to look at it as kind of the bare bones and the functionality of what's there. Look for what you're trying to accomplish rather than what does it look like. And sometimes we put pictures in there and you know, even use lorem ipsum text from time to time to indicate that this is where you would put some things, or to give you some ideas or some inspiration. So we're going to look at some of those. And so, you know, just first of all, I just kind of want to gauge where you're at. Will you just comment in the question field with what your specialty is? Are you an e-learning designer? Are you a manager? Are you a consultant, a trainer, a student? Things like that. Just comment there in the question field, and we'll give it a couple minutes, and then maybe Zach can give us some of the answers that we've gotten. Sort of an overall opinion or count. So we'll give you just a few seconds to do that here.
Adam, as these answers are coming in, it looks like we've got a lot of instructional designers, IT training consultant, one-stop shop, all of the above, designer project lead, corporate trainer.
Good.
But it looks like primarily instructional designers.
Yeah, instructional designers, and I love the kind of one-stop shop or all of the above. That's kind of a role I've led in my life. Is, you know, I've been in companies where I was a one-man shop. I've been in companies where even if I wasn't a one-man shop, we were still all kind of asked to do multiple tasks, from design and development to sort of managing projects to even some graphic design, which is not my strong suit. I really don't do well with the graphic design portion. I love having graphic designers on staff who can take my ideas and make them look beautiful, because if I were to draw it would look pretty horrible. So to start with, let's go out and take a look real quickly at the eLearning Brothers template library. We're going to be spending some time in here. So if you're not familiar with this is it's just found at library.elearningbrothers.com. I'm going to close this chat window. And there's a wide variety of assets out here, depending on what your subscription is. We have a free library as well that you can look at if just for giving us your email address, and there's some things out there as well. But we're going to focus on the primary library because that's sort of what we're looking at. But the skills and the concepts that I'm going to be talking about kind of apply to really any template library. And so we're going to be focusing on these templates. We also have a whole lot of cutout people and different things that you're welcome to go look at, but those are topics for another day. So we're going to go in and look at our templates. And we have templates for a wide variety of tools. Captivate, Lectora, Storyline, Camtasia, so forth. Kind of these are the big three across the top. These are the big three e-learning tools that you see a lot. And I know that there are a lot more out there. You know, I think the e-learning industry is booming as far as the number of tools being created and what those tools can do. But I think if you look down at the heart of it, most people are using one of those three tools, if not multiples of those tools. And like I said, in my career, I've used both Captivate and Storyline. I've used Lectora somewhat. I can speak a little bit to it. I'm trying to get better at it because it's my weak point of those three. I've done PowerPoint. I can do some Camtasia, although I'm not the Camtasia guru here. And I started off obviously on Flash and Articulate Studio and Adobe Presenter and things like that in there before the Storyline and Captivate came along. So, but we're going to focus on these three main tools here because, again, these are kind of where the bulk of our templates lie. And it really doesn't matter. I may go into Captivate or Storyline and show you some of the skills, but really it's more about understanding the concepts there than about how you actually do it in Captivate Storyline. We have blogs and other webinars that talk about how to customize our templates in the various tools. What I'm trying to get you to understand is how to take it, how to look at a template and see it for its value. Much as sometimes you know, my kids are fans of those remodeling shows on TV, and they go in and they take an old rundown house and they look at it and they say, well, this house could be this and this and this, and they draw, you know, knock down this wall and do this to it, and they can see the value in the home just from, even if it's run down or even if it doesn't fit their needs when they first walk in the door. And that's what I'm trying to help you to see, is the value of these templates, even if it doesn't look like it at the initial outset, look like what you were looking for. So we're going to look through, I'm going to go into the Storyline ones just because if I just see view all, I can see that there's a wide variety of them. There's some games, there's some of them that have a very similar look and feel, kind of a theme to them, this new stone theme that we're using in our customizable courseware. There's all sorts of different things. If I look at the types, when I go up here to template library and then Storyline, I can see that there's course starters, games, interactions, layouts, navigation players, and scenarios. And in brief, a course starter is just everything you need to get going. If we look at those, we can see that it's just a full-on, you know, if we click a preview of it, it's just a whole bunch of slides that are already set up that kind of give you everything you would need to build a course, a slide and quizzes and questions and so forth. And it's not showing the images very well right now on this preview, but it's all there. It gives you all the slides that you would need, and you can just fill in content. We have games and quizzes, which are, you know, adds an element of gamification. There's a really great one that just got added to our Storyline library. That's this Evelyn's Quest. It's a fantastic game that you should go look at if you get a chance. Interactions. Those are ways to engage learners with different activities. And again, we'll go in here and we'll look at interactions. You can see that there's some 3-panel ones. There's some Asking an Expert. There's drag and drops. There's some of these flat blue, just tabs and different layouts of tabs. There's an image carousel, all sorts of things, all sorts of interactions, ways that you can engage the learners. There's layouts, which give you a way to kind of lay out your course. If I could get my mouse to follow where I want to go, that would be good. And so there's layouts here. There's, you know, these again have a set of slides with them that you can look at, and you can see, you know, that there's several slides that kind of give you some different layouts. So you've got some choices for your title. Here's title slide 2. So it just gives you some options, and we've already laid out some stuff on the screen for you, and you can take and modify that as you want. Next up is scenarios, which are kind of role-playing, and we're going to look a lot at these today. Navigation players too, sorry, but we'll look at the scenarios first. So these are scenarios where they're kind of branching. You've got an idea, you got two options, that branches you to, so it's a decision tree kind of thing, or there's some other things that you can do. There's a social media, iPad kind of scenario, things like that. These are mostly just kind of branching, choose your own adventure kind of things in the scenarios. And then there are the navigation players, which are, you know, a little bit less customizable but these are just sort of the wrapper, the skin that it gives you the navigation controls and things. And so there's not much to these other than there's just we've just designed the little play bar and things at the bottom. So we're going to focus primarily on the other types of templates besides the navigation players. We're going to look at a whole bunch of different things. But as we go in and we look at these the storyline library, you can see, like I said, that there's a whole range of templates here. We've got cars, and we've got, you know, these game show type things, and there's a Halloween trivia one. There's all sorts of things. And again, these are designed to give you some idea. Maybe somebody once upon a time asked for a template for cross training, and so we put one in that sort of looked like an urban gym environment. It doesn't mean that that's the only place that can be used for. The beauty of our templates is that they are fully customizable. You get the source files. 90% of or more of the objects in the template are designed within the tool, within Storyline, within Captivate, within Lectora, and so you get those, and so you can very easily go in and customize those to however you see fit. You can take this cross-train one and make it something completely different. And so I'm going to show you some examples of that here in just
Adam,
a second. But let's take a minute for some questions.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Adam. Richard had a question of, do we have Articulate Rise templates?
We do not have Articulate Rise templates just yet. I know that that's something that we are looking at creating down the line. It's a little bit harder to create templates for Rise because of the nature of Rise. You sort of have to share the account. It's not a template-driven environment yet. Articulate is getting there, and we're hopefully going to get there to where we will have templates there, but right now we don't. Other questions?
Let's see. Laura asks, are these templates changed or updated when Storyline changes, how triggers, variables, or other features are used?
Yes, we try to stay up to date. We are currently in the process of updating all our templates. We've gone through and tested them, that they should work as they are in both the latest versions of Storyline as well as Captivate 2017. Again, I'm showing you Storyline templates here just because that's the one I chose to go to. It doesn't mean that's the only template we're going to focus on. We're going to look at Captivate as well. But we do, when a new version of a tool comes out, we go in and we test it. We look at it and say, do our templates work in there? What do we need to do to make them work? Are things broken? Things like that. So, and then once we do that, we'll go back and certify and say these work in these versions. Most of our Storyline templates will work in 3 and 360. And at this point, I believe we haven't fully completed testing our Captivate templates, but at least the ones we've done, most of them work fairly seamlessly in 2017. We have a few games that have glitches because of some JavaScripting and things like that doesn't work. But we do here at eLearning Brothers, we do try to stay up to the latest technology. But if not, then it's indicated on the template. Some of our templates, as we go in and look at them, it might say this is designed for Storyline 2. It might say this is a Storyline template file, or it might say it's for Storyline 2. This one says 360 and 2. Now, our Captivate ones are really designed that way, where you see this was built in Captivate 8, and so it's not there yet. So that you can look at them and say, okay, I don't want to use this template because it's not built, or I know that if I do bring it in, it's going to take some work. I'm going to have to do some revamping and things.
Perfect, Adam. I think that's all the questions for you right now.
Okay, so let's go in and we're going to look at some templates, kind of some before and after kind of thing. So let me look at here. What I want to show you is I went into, we'll start with storyline since I'm here, and I'm going to find this template, this one right here. So this was the before that I used. It was just a simple kind of ask an expert template. I went in here and I was like, okay, well, this deals with medical. I can see I roll over them. When I click on them, it pulls up a new slide or a new layer. I can say go back. There's a little bit of animation there. And I kind of like this feature for what I was doing. And so I went in and I took that and I played with it, and I brought it into, let me see here, where is it? Let me just find it. Got too many windows open on my screen at once. Forgive me for just a sec while I'm digging through these. So let me go. So I'm going to show you what the finished product of that looked like. Okay, so when I go here and I'm going to show you now. So there it is. Sorry, I found it. There it is. So we're going to show you. I've gone in now and I've created this for a restaurant interaction. So I've taken the same thing. You can see when I look back here, I've got this one. This initial one has an orange background and they're in medical dress. This one I brought in a grayish background to kind of match the red and black color scheme. And as I preview that, you'll see that it functions pretty much the same. I've got my 3 servers. I can hover over them. They change their state. There's a click me. I click on them. A new window pops up. And again, that was just a few extra steps. I changed the buttons to have a different look and feel. These are all just characters from our cutout people library that you can have access to. They just change states. And then as I click them, there's change state again. There's some lorem ipsum text there. So it's really that simple. It was just I took one template, this medical template, and I looked at it and I didn't say, oh gee, this is doctors, I need restaurant, I can't use this template. I went in and I looked at it and I said, but this is, I'm looking for a functionality of this where I can, hover over somebody, they say click me, and then I click on them and they give some more information, and there's a go back button. And I was just looking for that kind of interaction really quickly. I was able to say, okay, to sort of see beyond this orange that I didn't like very well, and to go in and see the template for what it was. And so it's really about using it creatively. You could create these as something completely different. You could use shapes here instead. You could use, icons or graphics or whatever else. You wouldn't have to use necessarily cutout people. It's just a matter of understanding that the triggers are already written into the file. And so when I go in and look at my file now, I can see that, when I roll over person 1, it's going to show the layer person 1 that has him on it. And I also can go into the states of this person and see that he's got a hover state that changes and adds the click me sign, or the click me speech bubble. And so it was that simple. The states were already there. The layers were there. I just had to, adjust a few things, pull in the cutout people, and change the background that I did with the master slide. If I just went in and did the slide master, you can see that I've got the orange master down here. I just went in and changed it to a gray master, and again put a little bit of a gradient on it, left most of the images the same. As I look through, I can see, okay, I took out this pattern on the background, the shading, the stripes, and I just left it bare. They're there a little bit subtle. They're there, but they're kind of hidden. I could bring them in if I wanted to. Again, very quick and easy to change one to another. So that's one example. So we're going to go look at now. Before I jump into the next one, let me ask if there are any questions, and then I'll jump in and show you another one.
Thanks, Adam. Andrew asks, roughly how long did it take to customize that template and change it from the servers to, or from medical staff to servers?
So, in honesty, the longest part of that was finding the people that I wanted. The changing it was a matter of, going in, changing the color was just a couple clicks. Going through the cutout people library and finding the pose out of the 144 plus poses that we have for each of our cutout people, finding the pose that I liked and sizing it to the right size. Overall, that interaction itself took probably a couple hours to change, and most of that was getting the cutout people the way I wanted them. Changing the buttons didn't take long. Changing the text, in the background and so forth didn't take long. It was really about just finding the right people and making sure you have them. And that's generally in another webinar that I did a few months ago. I talked about sort of gearing up for e-learning, principles of preparing for a good instructional design project or a good e-learning project. And one of those was to make sure you've gathered your assets beforehand. To make sure, okay, if I'm going to do this, I want to go out and I want to get pictures of servers and find the right ones and think about what I want them to be doing. Do I want them to be holding a pad? Do I want them to be, and finding icons and things like that? And I'll show you a little bit more in-depth one here in a few minutes.
Follow-up question to that one is, if someone purchases the Storyline template library, do they get the cutout people also?
I don't remember what comes in those packages. Do you know that answer, Zach?
Yeah, the answer to that actually is the Cutout People library is a separate library. So if you purchase a master pack, then you'll get access to all of that. Or you can also just purchase the template library as well as the Cutout People library. But the master pack is going to give you a lot of other assets, our stock asset library, and things that you can use to really polish that up.
Do they get the Storyline? Do they get the Storyline character sets with that Storyline library?
Yes, you do get the Storyline character packs with the template subscription.
So one of the nice things, I bring up those Storyline character packs, because one of the nice things we've done is we've gone in and we've created a packet of certain cutout people that have 10 states already built into them, so that you don't have to go in and download and create your own states. They've got 10 states already there. You can just go and use them directly. And so so we go out there and we go to our cutout people, our Storyline characters, and so you can see that it's not quite the wide range in terms of the number of different people, but you can see that there's already, they've already got 10 states built in. And so you just download this. It's just a story file, and so you download it into your file, and you can then use those. And then the states already pre-named because these were created in Storyline, and so you can use those directly. So that's a good way too to get some states in quickly, is to grab these Storyline cutout people and bring them in, or these Storyline packs. But that's a good question. Other questions?
One last question from Greg. He says, we use Captivate templates with specific sizes that are smaller than yours. How easy would it be to copy and insert elements from one of yours to one of our smaller templates?
It's fairly easy to copy and paste the elements, particularly if you use the library feature where you can export and import from a library in Captivate to do that. So it's, you can bring them in pretty easily into Captivate to resize them and make them work from there. You could try doing the resize function, but then you're going to lose. You're going to get some weird skewing. It's not always going to keep the proportion. But to just grab and copy and paste should work fine. I've done that with going from a 4x3 dimension to a 16 by 9 dimension, and as long as I find kind of the background images and then resize some things to make it work, it comes in pretty cleanly. It's just a matter of understanding that not every action, especially in Captivate, not every action copies over exactly, so you kind of want to keep them both open and do some playing that way. But again, our templates are never designed to, or very seldom are designed to get you all the way there. We've got our customized courseware that is kind of a separate beast from our templates, in that you get a fully blown course that's ready to just plug and play. But our templates, because they have lorem ipsum text and things like that in them, they're not necessarily ready to go right off the bat. You have to do some work, but they're designed to get you a good chunk of the way there, and to really give you a leg up on design. And rather than starting from a blank screen and saying, okay, what color do I want this? How do I want this laid out? Things like that. It's great for guys like me who have no real graphic design skill. I spend more time, before I found template libraries and things, I spent more time trying to lay out things on a slide and try to use good design principles. And I sometimes got overzealous and had 14 slides that none of them had any cohesiveness to them, but to me they all looked cool individually. And so I learned very quickly how to use templates and how to make the most of those kind of things. Any other questions? Nope, that's it for now. Okay, so now I want to jump in, since we've looked at some storyline. I wanted to look at a Captivate one. And so essentially I took, where is it? This is a scenario or interaction. Essentially I took something like this. Doesn't matter. That one's a geolocation. It wasn't that one, sorry. It was just I think it was this one here. I took this one. It's just a template. It's just a branching scenario. Two people talking. An option 1 takes you to a branch. You can continue. It takes you then to a 3-option branch. There's a wrong answer, right answer, whatever, and then it gives you a conclusion. And there's more slides than that. But I brought that into Captivate, and I made this out of it. And if we look at this and preview it, you can see that in a lot of ways it's very similar, but I've added some extra pieces to it. And so I'll show you some of those things here. Let's just look at this real quickly in the preview, and I'll show you those things. So it starts off, this is kind of for a training class, so it was about, what position do you hold? So we can say, I'm a waiter, and then we click let's get cooking, and then we're back in here, and now we're into this 2-branching piece, just like over here. We've got the two options. I decided to make just one person who is sort of our guide through it, but I can click on the food safety. It brings me up. I've added a little menu icon here that takes me back to my main screen. But as I'm here, now I've got my 2 people talking again. So I've used sort of 2 steps in this, but I've just copied slides, and I can go, okay, the warming station, and oops, that's not the right answer. I'm going to try again. So I've asked for this seafood platter. What's the best place to bring it? The cold storage, or the best place to get it? Great. I can continue. Now I get another one, and now I'm in customer service, and I've got 3 different choices here. And so you see that just a few little things I've done to make it so that it now fits this restaurant theme. There's some backgrounds here that I picked. There's different little restaurant images that come from our stock library, things like that. So I can go in and pull those in. And again, that was just looking at that template. As we go in and look at this and look back at the Captivate file, you can see that there are some things that I've added in. I've obviously added in a text box. This was the original file that I started with, or the original sort of layout based on that template. I copied that screen, got rid of the guy, gave a different pose to her, added in this little button here that was just an icon. I had a series of restaurant icons that were used throughout. I added this Acme Inc. logo up here to match again the red and black, and this was just a restaurant image that I found in the thing. and there's a whole bunch of, you can see that sometimes the images are bigger because I just want to zoom in on a certain part of it. But this one took me probably about a day to revamp the template. Again, a lot of the functionality was there. I wasn't worried about most of the functionality. I had to do some things here where this little smart shape, this little icon became a button, and so I added that in, add that functionality. Here on this closing slide, I added the variable call that pulled from that text entry box, so it says you've successfully completed your training as a waiter here at Acme Restaurant. Welcome to the team. But it takes whatever they've entered in that text entry box at the beginning, and it goes from there. And this was, initially this was sort of part of a larger idea to say that if they typed in waiter, waitress, busser, they might be taken to, a different module that would be there. This module is for waiters about food safety, and this module is for bussers about food safety, or there's one about different chefs or food handlers or whatever, and so, but this was just one piece of it. But again, I went back and I looked at what did I want it to do, and I came in and I went in and I was looking through and I said, okay, this is kind of the idea that I wanted to go with, was this branching scenario where I wanted them to have a couple of choices at first, to give some feedback on that, and then to maybe have a few more choices. And again, I'm not limited to, okay, this was like 8 slides here. I'm not limited to that 8 slides. I can say I can copy this slide multiple times and use it, but it gives me some inspiration. I look at this and I go, okay, there's sort of an office background in the back. They look like they're an office people. These colors sort of match. I can go with that. And then I came into this one and I said, okay, so similar idea. Again, I started with this slide here that had the 2 people, and then I could go from there, and I said, okay, I've got the restaurant background. This restaurant background is just from our stock image library. All of these images are just from the eLearning Brothers stock image library. I just searched for food, restaurant, food to servers, and these cutout people are from our cutout people library. There was some photoshopping done on them too. When it has the Acme logo on their apron, I just did that to brand the servers, but you could easily do it without. They're red and black in there just as it is. So there's a lot of information there. And again, that was a really quick looking at the template. What did it do, and how can I go from there to to something bigger to make it what I want it to be. So I started at this one and went to that one. So again, let's take a break for some quick questions, and I'm going to show you one more here.
Adam, right now you're all caught up on questions. Your efficiency is second to none.
All right. Okay, we're going to go look at another one. So this is one that I'm going to go back to the storyline templates again. So I'm going to go into the storyline templates, and we're going to find one. This one was one that was a little more complicated. I started with this one, that this is a layout. So again, it's got a number of slides built in. I kind of like this modern look and feel. I'm not sure why some of these are not showing up. It may be my flash, but there's it's got a series of slides, and I went from that to then this, to where you can see that I've got something very similar. I kept the circle, I changed the color. Again, I brought in a server. This one I've got, some different options. And if I go in and I look at now, if I went into the final version of this, let me find it here. I think it's this one. Yeah, so here's the final. Oh, no, that's the wrong one again. Sorry about that. So as I went through And we'll just preview this one just for the sake of time. I can go through and I can change the colors on everything. Again, I used a full-on you know, I went in and I pulled in the images here. There's a restaurant background in the back there. I've got the logo up here. Again, you can just see that these are some layouts, but just by changing a few things on the master slide, I was able to use to, you know, make this a restaurant theme rather than just sort of a corporate business theme like you see in this one. And I'm trying to see if I've got the, where did I have it? Is it this one? Yeah. So we'll show you the finished product really quickly because this one I believe uses some icons and things. And
Adam, while you're waiting for that to pull up, can I ask a quick question?
You bet.
Oscar asks, will these Captivate 9 scenarios work on Captivate 2017?
Yes. They may not, again, it may not be completely flawless depending on what template you're using. If the template uses some JavaScript or some of our motion paths like the game templates, they don't work. But here's I guess the caveat to that. Captivate 9 stuff works in 2017, but what it doesn't automatically do is come into fluid boxes. I think a lot of us think when we're looking at Captivate 2017, we automatically think fluid boxes. And this doesn't automatically work with fluid boxes. There's more to it than that. We haven't designed our templates yet to work with the fluid boxes, but they will work in 2017 in the breakpoint mode, and so you can still go in and edit them and do some things like that. We're working to get our templates up into fluid box ready, but that's a much bigger process because it's more of a design feature than just a kind of you can't just necessarily drag and drop elements into a fluid box to make it work. And so you kind of have to redesign your training all around fluid boxes to make them really function the way that you need them to.
Okay, perfect. Pamela asks, so then we go to the master slide to make them follow the same design?
Yeah, you can, you know, most of these can be done right in the master slide. And you go into the master slide and you just adjust the design of them. So if I go in here, if I go look at my slide master, you know, I can come in and I can just come in and change the colors of these buttons and so forth. And then it changes it, then I can just choose to use that layout. So when I'm back out here, if I wanted to change the layout of this one, I obviously just go into layout and then I can pick one of those other layouts and choose, and it should apply it based on the information it has to use. So yeah, I always advocate for using master slides wherever you can because it really speeds up your process and it helps you. You know, you only have to put the elements on there once and then you can spread it out over multiple slides, which is what I had done in that other one with the, again with the two, this one over here was, some of this was master slide stuff that I had pulled in and looked at that way. So, okay, other questions?
Last question for this round. How easy is it to combine a layout with a scenario in Captivate?
It's pretty simple. You can copy and paste entire slides over. Again, you might have one of the things I suggest you doing, and I didn't follow my own rules here, but generally I suggest, you know, if you've got an image here, give it a name that makes sense rather than image_103. You know, I might say, you know, lady facing right, you know, so that I would know, and as I went in and had to troubleshoot some stuff, because sometimes when I bring things in, if they've got similarly named objects, that there can be some weird functionality there. But to grab a scenario that you've opened in Captivate as well as an interaction that you've then opened in Captivate, to grab all the files and drag them in, and then you might have to go in too and do some. This is where the master slides can really come in handy, because if you already have your master slides created, whichever one you're dragging into, your source file, then you can change as you put it into the destination file to say, I want this to match the look and feel just by going in and adjusting those master slides rather than having to go in and change all the colors and everything. And the beautiful thing about Captivate too is the cascade feature, that I can go in and I can select this button, and if I wanted to change a color of the button, if I wanted to say let's make it yellow instead, then I can say, I can go in and apply that to all, apply this style to, or save changes to an existing style, and it should go through and cascade down so that they should all be yellow eventually, which is, to me, sort of a set color in this scheme, but that just shows you a quick example. That's one of the things I like about Captivate, is that you do have that cascade effect. Okay? All right, so,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I lied about one more question.
Okay.
So is there a slide master in Adobe Captivate?
There is. And so if I'm in Captivate, somewhere my window has disappeared here, but I've got the master slide window here. This one was not, because most of my elements were on the background. I didn't go in and, like I said, I didn't follow my own rules on this one, somewhat because of the cascading rules and because my restaurant image was going to change each time. But there is a slide master, and usually it's up here on the menu. And again, somewhere something's happened to my file bar that I can't see it, so I'm going to have to go troubleshoot that here in a minute. But it just is the window and then view master, and you can come in there. Also from your film strip where I've got this, I can come into my master slide, and this is where I can choose all the layouts and things. So I can, if I've got the slide selected or the background selected, I have to have just the slide. I can't have an object selected on it, but that's where my master slides will appear. I can choose the master slide background or a project background, things like that. But there is a master slide in Captivate, and this, like I said, this isn't the best example of a good use of master slides, because that was just the way I chose to do this one. But there are a lot of our templates that will have those master slides built in that you can use. Okay?
Perfect. Perfect. That's the last question for now. Thanks, Adam.
All right. So again, how do we, some things to think about to get to from what I call this before to the after. You need to think about, what functionality am I looking for? What am I trying to accomplish with this interaction or this scenario or even this course in general? As I go back and I look at my course starters, and I see that I've got, kind of this whole theme of things, I might say, I don't like this lawman theme, but I might like that there's a enter your name here at the beginning. And so I can go in and I could completely change that. To where it comes in, and I like I like this functionality. Maybe I like this idea of arrows and things like that. And so I could say, I'm going to bring that in and use it. But it's about understanding the bones, the functionality of the template that you're looking at, and being able to look at them kind of creatively. There's some of them that, when we look at them, we'll go back to storyline, for instance. There's some of them that have, these multiple boxes like this. This is a drag and drop box with a car, labeling the parts of a car, but you could do very similarly the same thing with a computer. You're teaching a class on hardware and, the hardware of a computer. Where's the CD drive? Where's the where's the power button? Where's the fan? All that kind of stuff for computer repair. You could do the same kind of thing, a drag and drop there. You could take something like this that's got these 6 boxes, and maybe you don't want 6, maybe you want 5, maybe you want 8. But again, you've got the sort of functionality there. Again, it's just a copy and paste. So think about the functionality. Think about, I don't have to limit myself on these scenarios to 2 options. I could make 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. I just want that ability that when I click that button, it goes over here to another slide and uses it. And so 3 can become 5 or 6 or 7, or 2 can become 4, or 7 could become 2. I've got this glossary template here, this multiple 24 tab thing maybe I don't need 24 tabs. Maybe I only need 6, but I like this layout. And so I could make 6 bigger boxes, just limit it down to 6, and just resize those boxes. But all the triggers and all the things are already still there, so I don't need to do much more than delete the ones I don't need, get rid of any variables that they may be calling, clean up the triggers, and then resize the boxes and recolor them. And to think about what would it look like in a different configuration. If I took this, this image carousel or maybe an example like this of a rope climbing, and I wanted it to be completely different, but I still wanted that functionality there. It's a matter of thinking about what does this do and how can I make it look different to meet my needs. And that's really what the whole point of this has been, is to go in and look at the functionality that's there. And remember that every template that we have in our library, whether it's Captivate, Storyline, or Lectora, or even the PowerPoint and Presenter and so forth, is really fully customizable. You get the source file so that you can go in. You don't have to go in and say, oh, I can't do this, the template won't let me. These aren't, sort of the next step down is something that they often call white labeling, which is, we give you a package and there's a few areas of it that you can change. These are fully customizable. You can go in on the games, if these look too sort of childish for you, you can go in and say, I want to get rid of this, but I like this sort of idea of a baseball theme, but maybe I want to put in my hometown team, and I want to give it the colors, or I want to put in a corporate team or whatever, but I don't want sort of this cheesy, maybe looking sort of elementary school graphics. I can go in and change those things. And again, as we look at these too, one of the other things on some of these, we'll get in here and it'll let me go in. There we go. You see that not only do you get the template file, but you also get the graphics source file. So that source file has like that home run and the ball logo. So you could go pull those graphic files into Photoshop or Illustrator or GIMP or whatever image editing tool you've got and manipulate them, change the colors. You could, create a completely new thing, hand them to your graphics design team and say, create something different. But again, because you've got those files, it gives them that starting point. And so you've got to go through there. And, some other things that you can do is look around for inspiration. I saw a file created once, somebody took one of our templates and completely revamped it, and I actually had to look at it and ask them which template did they start with, because by the end it didn't look anything like that template, but they said it got them 80% of the way there because they had used the functionality, the triggers, the layers that were already built in, and they just went in and they just moved stuff around and resized it and recolored it and put in some of their logos and did some overlays and things on the main screen, put in some audio, to where even to me, who's been in these templates hundreds of times, it was completely unrecognizable as one of our templates without sort of digging down and seeing the functionality of it. So, my takeaway from this is, make sure you look at the bare bones, be creative in your thinking. Don't get locked into it and say, this is just about this. The visuals are there just to give you an idea and to give you some inspiration. It's the functionality, the bones of the template that is what you really need to look at when you're deciding on templates for our projects. And we really, in my year and a half here of consulting and helping people, I have yet to find somebody who has a project that I couldn't take one of our templates and find one template at least that would work for that project. Even if they said, I've looked through them and I can't find any, just by some creative thinking. And so I would really encourage you to look at that. Make sure that you're certainly welcome to go out and look through our stuff, but I would just leave this with you as we end. And let me just get over here. Yeah. Are there more questions before I wrap this up, Zach?
I do not have any questions for you. I was just going to wrap it up for you, but you feel free to do whatever you'd like.
Yeah, so I'm just, as you're going through, go out, make sure you certainly go out and register for a free account. take a look through our library. Even our free library has a lot of assets there that you can use. But I appreciate your time. Feel free to reach out to me. You will be getting a copy of this webinar as a recording later, and they'll be posted as a recap as well. So I'll let Zach take over and do his finishing touches on it.
Great. One last question that came in right at the end. David asks, you know if there'll be any discounts available on templates at DevLearn. David, let me answer that by saying, come and see. We will be at DevLearn. It's going to be an exciting conference. We've got, at DevLearn, we have a stage set up where we're having 11 different presentations on different things in the industry, both templates and custom work, our customizable courseware, different speakers from different companies. So it's going to be a really exciting show. Great question, by the way. Hopefully all this made sense to you. Want to again thank Adam for a great presentation and really opening up our eyes to what templates can be and not getting locked into just what's showing up on the screen.
Zach,
go ahead, Adam.
One last thing I want to push. Understand too that one of the products we sell is a one-on-one mentoring product, where if you are going into a template and saying, you know, I want to see how to do this, you can sign up for, you can purchase, I think, a package of 6 one-hour blocks for, I think, $600 that you can then say, that gives you one-on-one with one of our experts, whether that's me or a video expert or a JavaScript expert or whatever, to say, I want you to come in and we'll take your template apart. We'll help you sort of with your project. You can show us your storyboards, share your screen, whatever, and we'll talk through it with you in that hour to help you get to that point. And that's really sort of what spurred this webinar for me, was some of the mentoring I've done over the years of helping, looking at other people's templates and helping them see how they could make our templates work. So that's all I want to say. Back to you.
Thanks. That one-on-one mentoring product is phenomenal if you really want to dive deep into a specific problem that you're having or need to brainstorm with an expert or something like that. If you've got something that's just a little lighter weight, maybe you had a question on the webinar that's going to take 2 or 3 minutes, please feel free to call us, email us, jump on a chat. We'd love to help you out in any way. We're going to be reaching out to each of you after this webinar just to make sure that it fits your needs and to find out any questions that you had. If you're interested in kind of jumping to the front of that line, again, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll schedule a time so that we make sure that we give you the time that you need. Also, we'll be sending out an email in the next few hours that has a recording of this webinar, as well as links to some free assets that you can go in and click around with and see if it's going to really fit your needs and what you can do with them. So make sure and look for that email. Adam, again, thanks for a great webinar. And we hope to see everybody else at DevLearn or just online. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.